What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer and this is my Federal Concepts FEDA Gen 2 MWS NPAS video. So, while I stick the usual disclosure on screen right now, you guys grab a drink, get yourself comfortable because this did not go the way I planned it. So, let's start with a little bit of context. On the table, you see my Guns Modify H&K 416A5 MWS GBBR, a phenomenal piece of kit right out the box. Please check out my unboxing and review videos if you don't believe me, because it is phenomenal. Now, out the box, this hits 400 FPS, and that's where this video comes in. At the time I purchased this and did a quick FPS test, I contacted my good friend Bada Bing from Bada Bing Pictures. Again, go share some love, give him some love and respect because that guy is awesome. He recommended me to purchase the Federal Concepts. The problem was, at that moment in time, there was none. And the only NPAS I could pick up was the original RARTEC NPAS for the MWS, which is currently installed in this thing. So, he basically told me after I purchased the RARTEC that once he'd finished doing his video on the Federal Concepts, which if you want to see what its potential is, I highly advise you to go and watch that video as well. But he said once he'd finished, he'd send me the spare one he had. And that's what's on the table here for you guys today. So, let's start with a little bit of context, shall we? Let's put it out there and show you the results of the RARTEC first. Okay, so let's test this RARTEC NPAS out. I'm using 0.25 gram BBs and green gas. Okay, so 19 shots, and we can go all the way down. So we have a high of 262.8 with a low of 222.8. That's a deviation of 40 FPS. Average is 248.2. It's a little bit on the low side, but like I say, that's the whole point of an NPAS. You can tune it, but it's how stable it is. That's the main point of this test. Okay, so as you can see, you're getting a total drop over 19 rounds was 40 FPS, and the biggest drop in between shots was registered at around about 8.6, was it, or something like this? And on average, it's cycling pretty decently within its range of 2 to 3 FPS drop in between shots. That's pretty much standard within all GBBRs. They're always going to drop a little bit, usually a 1.5 to 2.5 FPS in between shots, depending on weather, temperature, elevation, all that stuff. That's pretty par and common. Now, obviously to some, 40 FPS is a massive amount, but I will put the caveat, it's basically -3 out there at this moment in time. It's pretty cold, and yeah. You know, it's normal to be expected. And again, these sort of differences, believe it or not, in between shots, a couple of FPS, you're not going to notice at CQB range anyway, which is what an NPAS is really meant to be used in that situation. It's basically not. You can't see it with the human eye, especially when your target is less than 15 meters away. You're going to be hitting him no matter what, and he will call his hits. If he doesn't call his hits, well, then you need to get in contact with your marshal and do something about it. But for all intents and purposes, that is that. Now, let's disassemble this so we can take a look at the FEDA valve and let's see what happens. Now, to disassemble and reassemble is basically quite easy. Just reverse whatever I do now and you'll be able to reassemble it. But let's show you, shall we? All right, so we'll just take this bolt carrier here for your MWS. This is the Guns Modify, but they're generally very similar in their constructions anyway, because they're all based off the same system. So we take that one screw there. Now, there's only two parts in this construction and reconstruction that you need to worry really about, and that's because there is a little spring under tension that will go flying. You can see that right there. Now, as I say, you can see the RARTEC. Now, with the RARTEC, to adjust it, you need a special tool that goes down here into that, and you need to put something inside this little, gasket part, the intake, and just hold the NPAS from rotating inside. Once you've done that, you can make a fine adjustments and control your FPS. Obviously, that is for this original one. If you own the new magnetic one, you won't need to do that. It's all done with the tool, and it's a lot more easier. But for this one being the original, that's how you would deal with that. Now, at this point, we need to lift this up, and we have to watch out. So we put your hand over the top to capture the spring, lift up the plate here, which should allow this thing, and pull forward a little bit on the nozzle so we can slide this thing a little bit more further forward. There we go. 1, 2, 3. There it goes. There's your spring. We held it so it didn't go flying, which is awesome. So we can just put these parts there. Your little spring there. Now, at this point, what's holding it in is this little clip here. So we take a little flathead screwdriver, and what we can do is just try to get it in the gap and lift it up there. Put it under the wings, pull it back, and lift up. And as you can just hear there, that little pop, that's just the nozzle moving forward. Okay. At that moment in time, we slide this out, and your whole nozzle will come. Now, there's your bolt carrier. We can now just move that out of the way. Now, with this being very well lubricated and well looked after, let's wipe it down, because otherwise we're not going to have the grip that we need. And while you're here, we need to take this rubber gasket off. We just do that like that. Boom, and she goes flying across the table. But there's the gasket, which is fine. Now, there is one more screw right there. Now, what we're going to need for that is a little Phillips. We can swap this one out to a small Phillips. And all we do now is undo this. This is your cross pin that holds the rocket valve in place and holds the nozzle return spring. And all we do is unscrew. Once we've got through, you'll find it'll start to come out very easy. It's best to screw it out, not pull it out, because if you pull it, you can strip threads. Remember, this is plastic, and plastic is very fragile in the first place. But we do it to there, and then we just unscrew. There's a little gasket there I'm going to leave on the screw, because you don't need to worry. And then we would pull it out, and there goes your return spring for the rocket valve, and here is the RARTEC. Now, the RARTEC is aluminium and very strong and works very well. But as you can see, it doesn't lock into any surface like that, and so therefore it's free to roll. And when I say you had to hold it, you just put something in and it holds it and stop it from rotating, so that this back plate here can, be adjusted. Now, what's really happening is, as the screw, this sits kind of like here, with the screw going through here. This basically pushes the valve closed already just a little bit and adjusts that timing for it switching to the front of the nozzle, so it will go forward, shut off the gas to the barrel, and diverts it down through there and out and into the piston, and basically cycles the awesome airsoft replica that you're using. Now, if we move this out the way, we have the Federal Concepts. So if we pull this out, you can see the differences, okay, between the RARTEC and the FEDA. This one being metal and this one being full polymer. Now, what you can see right there is a little like hourglass type thing. This is your power ratio. So when this is in here into the nozzle itself, out that window, you're going to just see that little bit. When you see this line, that's the, maximum amount of power that you can have. And as you go forward to the tip of that little arrow, you basically get to the minimum amount of power. So you can adjust within that. Please don't adjust it outside of that or it will not work. So let's get this all put back in. I'm going to let you guys follow this in reverse. I'm going to go and get this ready and we'll take it out to the room. Okay, so let's put the results that I was able to get on screen now. Okay, so let's check the FEDA valve and let's see how consistent this one is. So. Right, so high of 389.8, low of 338.3, 51 deviation, 14.6. To be honest with you, let's go crunch the numbers and let's see. Okay, at the end of testing, these are the results that I had. There was a 50 FPS drop between the first and the last shot. There was one registered drop of 15 plus FPS in between a shot, and that just didn't sit right with me. They were not the same results that I've been seeing online on many other people that have done reviews, and for instance Bada Bing's. So I decided to reload the mag. I fired once and I heard a metallic ding. I field stripped the gun, I did a full check, and the rocket valve, this little valve, was locked to the open position. So I had a good examination and it's missing something. As you can see here, it is missing its grub screw. That is now embedded into my BB catcher. Fun. Now, I got another one, placed it in, same thing happened. So I was unable to replicate the initial results that you see on screen. And so here we are. Now, why is this? So I've got a spare grub screw, one of my spares. These are the exact same grub screws that they provide you. Okay, same dimension, same class. But if I put this here and we start to just screw it in, we'll go halfway. Right, at this point, we have to zoom in. Right, can you see the amount of play? Maybe if I put it here. Yeah, you can see significant amount of play. What that basically means is the fine threads within this are not really holding it. They're not really biting and holding down. The hole is bigger than the actual grub screw, you would have thought. Now, it's not that case. What it means is, if I pull this in, those little threads that they screwed in there basically are so thin, they're like literally half the thickness of a human hair. At that moment in time, it's not going to hold this. You have to remember the conditions that this is under. When you pull that trigger, a very huge amount of gas. You're talking, if it's green gas, it's anywhere from 135 psi to 200 psi, depending on where you are in the world, your elevation, humidity, and a whole range of other factors we're not going to get into in this video. But the point is, this is under extreme pressure, and that's pushing this little bar and shaking it all around. Now, if the plastic they use is a softer material, or if it's a hard material, but when it was cured, because this is resin printed, it looks like, basically, as it's, how to say, hardened with the UV light and cured, it's probably not cured the inside. If it was layer construction, which you can do to hide all the, how would you say, the little seams, you can do it now, you can build it quite well. But if the nozzle temperature is high, 3D printing is a witchcraft of magic and so on that people have to master. It's not an easy skill, and I salute everyone who can do that really well. The problem is, when you're mass producing something like this for consumer use out of a 3D printing device, well, that's where you have the issues, because again, over time, the nozzle gets either too hot or it could have a malfunction that you don't check, you could be distracted or what have you, and there's a whole batch gone out there that's had issues. Now, that kind of sucks, because I was so looking forward to this, I really was. But on the basis of the way that this is, I really can't recommend it. If you were going to make this, 3D printing is great for prototype, but for final mass production, you need to send it off to an injection molding specialist, you know, a company that will injection mold them for you, if you can't do it yourself. And If you don't want to do that, but you do want to make it yourself, then purchase a aluminium 3D printer. Now, that's not hard. It's more expensive, but the money that you invest, you'll get back, because these, if they were made out of aluminium, like the Ratec, will last you forever. You wouldn't have to worry about redesigning the arms on this, which break, etc. None of that mess, and it would work perfectly flawlessly. But in this case, I can't, because the hull, it's not even perfectly round. You can see where it's worn. It's kind of like oval shaped now, or egg shaped if you want to call it that way. And that's not good. It's not allowing for constant reliability and fit and feed. Now, yes, you could put a bigger grub screw in here, but if you do that, you're basically occupying more space. And remember, this chamber is sized correctly for the right amount of gas. If you occupy more space, that gas is going to hit that restriction and get more dirty behind it. Dirty air behind a BB is what leads to accuracy issues downrange. And remember, a few inches close range is a lot downrange. Okay? So it's not really the answer long term. And again, because the plastic is going to be softer inside, it's still going to happen whether you have the bigger one, but with the bigger one, it's got more surface to push it and do more damage. So let's go into final thoughts. Okay, if you've gotten this far in the video and you like what you see but you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit that notification bell and like button. That way you stay notified whenever I upload a new video, and you really help this channel out with the YouTube algorithm. It really much is appreciated. If you want to go one step further and donate to the channel, then please consider using the YouTube thanks. Other than that, let's get into final thoughts. Right, first of all, I want to thank Bada Bing for sending this to me. It took him a fair few months, but I got it in the end, and I am hugely grateful. So thank you to Bada Bing. He is awesome. Now, sadly though, I do have to put this as a negative review. I don't want it to be, and I don't mind if Federal Concepts wants to contact me directly through YouTube or through Instagram. You can hit my Instagram account at The Real Middle-Aged Gamer. Just search that on Instagram, you'll find me. And basically, at the end of the day, I don't mind doing another video in this if they want to send me a few, but for testing. But as it stands, if you do want this, it can work. It is a really good viable when it works. But with the sample that they've sent me, it does not work. This is a no. And that sucks. So if you were to buy one of these, buy a couple, because you might get one like this that's not great, or not been cured, or has the hole drilled too widely, etc. It could have been a million and one reasons, but in this case, it's a no. And like I say, if you ask me what NPAS to get, it would be the Ratec, just for the simple fact that it's reliable, it works. Yes, it's a nightmare to adjust the original one, but now that you've got the magnetic one out there, you can purchase that and away you go. In fact, if I remember rightly, with the magnetic one, you don't even have to take the bolt carrier out, because it comes with one of those special tools that you can do without disassembling the gun. So it's really cool how they do it, and I'd highly advise you to use that than this right now. Like I say, I don't mind doing a part 2 if they want to do that, but that's up to them. I'm leaving that in their ball court. I do appreciate them. I do appreciate the design. I love it when someone comes up with something new. But their whole idea of printing it off and quickly getting some money in the door, I agree to a certain extent, but with pressure and load-bearing plastic, it never really works well. So I do have to say no. I'd love to know what your comments are down there. I'm sure you guys have had some that have had some really good positive, and I've also seen some with some negative as well. So with that being said, I look forward to reading those comments. As always, I've been Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer. You guys have been amazing, and I'll see you in the next one.